They're not criminals and they haven't broken any laws.
But they do say the state is holding them against their will. Why? Well, investigative reporter Becky Oliver is here to explain. Becky.
Well, it is a tragic story about what happens when you are all alone in the world and lose control over your rights, your money, even your ability to complain.
Saying the same things over and over.
Gene and Michael Kidd never imagined their retirement would play out like this.
I feel like I'm not in America. I can't believe it. I've been hijacked off the street virtually and imprisoned.
The kids lived here in this Richardson home for decades, but for months now it's been this tiny room. They've lost control over everything, their money, their home, even their car. They've been robbed of their dignity, even their voice. And who's responsible? The state of Texas.
We're still kind of in a state of shock.
Kidd worked as an engineer at KDFW for 23 years. He retired in 2001 with a pension, retirement account, and Social Security. Last month, he called the station for help. The kids have no children and no relatives nearby. In November, Michael fell and broke his hip here at the house and was rushed to the hospital and into surgery. Gene waited by his side. But after several days, the hospital called Adult Protective Services, reporting that Gene had been in the waiting room and wasn't eating. What happened next is a complicated legal tale filed with the Collin County Probate Court. Caseworkers paint a picture of two incompetent old people, aged 67 and 70, suffering from dementia, who've mismanaged their finances and used poor judgment. It says Michael is verbally abusive, even attempted to assault Gene.
Coca-Cola will be fine.
Michael says Gene has memory trouble, but denies everything else.
That's okay.
A judge determined the kids were incapacitated, so the state sent them to the Countryside Nursing Home in Pilot Point and is now burning through their money to pay for their care. How much money's left?
I know what my income was, and it was more than enough to take care of my bills. So what's all this giving these people money to keep me in a place where I'm deteriorating instead of getting better?
The monthly tab for a couple at Countryside is about $7,000. Court records show the guardian paid $11,000 out of the kids' money for 5 months. The state's Medicaid program kicks in the rest.
I could be at the Hilton for this kind of money.
The state appointed a financial guardian, but when the kids asked for an accounting of their money, the state said no. They don't have the mental capacity to even ask for their own records. Then the state tried to get a temporary restraining order to stop Fox 4 from reporting the story, claiming our report would cause irreparable harm to them. The judge ruled against the state.
We have to buy this out of our money.
The state gives each of the kids a measly $60 a month of their own money. They use it to keep a small refrigerator stocked with healthy food. Gene has lost 20 pounds and 2 teeth. There are no personal belongings in their room other than the TV. So where are all of their things? Sitting in their empty house in Richardson.
This is the way we found it 2 weeks ago. Busted wide open.
Bob Graham lived across the street from the kids for 21 years. He's furious about what the state is letting happen to the kids' house. The yard is neglected. The power was shut off this spring, leaving a mess in the kitchen. Spoiled food. He says the state even left the doors unlocked.
What irritates me is the gross negligence in handling their financial affairs. There's got to be a better way of handling this than just coming in totalitarian fashion and taking over people's lives against their will.
Eileen was one of Gene's closest friends. She says Gene was having some memory problems, but she too questions the state's heavy hand.
They needed some kind of help. They did, but it's very frightening to realize how totally helpless and how without resources they're going to be in it.
The kids did have representation. The court appointed an attorney, Bert Starr. He wouldn't comment, but records show he billed their account for 10 hours of legal service, although what he did in those 10 hours was cut out of the record. The kids told us they met with him once briefly before their hearing, and he represented them again in court.
They didn't have anybody really to help them.
Nick Sheik is Gene's former boss. He went to court with the kids.
No, there was no defending per se in the court. It was just the procedure went through very quickly. And
so it was a done deal.
Done deal, yes.
I'm sick and tired of the whole thing.
The kids are livid. They say the state has tried to paint them as troublemakers who are not capable of making decisions about their lives. And they're frightened it appears to be working.
Having help is one thing. Having somebody come in and take over the whole ball of wax and say, you will do as I say, and you have no control
over your own life.
Of your own life, and you will do exactly what we say and nothing else.
How could this happen in a country that talks about and brags about freedom, and yet and how well we treat our old people? And this can happen to any of you. You might think about that, all of you. This can happen to you.
Now, the judge says he would welcome a neighbor or family member to serve as a guardian, but no one has come forward. He says the state is the last resort. So the state has the responsibility to make sure the kids are safe, but is a nursing home the best answer? There are other options, assisted living, home health care, that may also be less expensive and confining. The kids say those options were never discussed with them. We'll keep you posted. Becky Oliver, Fox 4 News.